and welcome back. Apollo Hospitals declared its numbers overnight. Sunitha Reddy, MD at Apollo Hospital Group, is now with us. Ma'am, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Could you just start by the COVID impact in the lockdown in Q4? How are the numbers looking earlier versus, how are the average occupancies looking now?
So let's start by going through Q4. Q4 was not for us a normal quarter. However, we showed growth of 19% with revenues of 2,572 crores. EBIDTA also grew, and EBIDTA grew by 8%. So it was, we were trending around 19 to 20%, but in spite of the lockdown, which happened in March, we grew EBIDTA to 288 crores for the quarter. So what really happened during the lockdown? Clearly, all the hospitals were, from March onwards, we started seeing a decline in volumes. And I think the virus really hit us in February, where people became conscious and travel started slowing. When the lockdown happened in March, people were told not to go to hospitals for elective surgery. And this really impacted our volumes, about 3,000 to 5,000 volumes per hospital. And consequently, there was an impact on revenue. Having said that, there was a 70 crore impact on revenue during Q4 because of the lockdown. But because of Apollo and the way that we have de-risked our model with the pharmacies saw an excess of 70 crores and they grew by 55% in that March quarter. So very good performance by the pharmacies. Notable performance by the hospital healthcare services, and overall a growth of 19%.
All right. Okay. Hi, this is Mubina as well joining in, ma'am. Post unlock, that's basically, in the beginning of this month, are occupancy levels rising now for other services?
Yes, I think post the lifting of the lockdown, we saw somewhat of a surge in the number of, we track both occupancy and surgeries, and clearly we did see some amount of surge happening. And then, as you know now, Chennai is again in lockdown. So it has been quite challenging for us that this is probably the third version of the lockdown that we're facing. But what we have come to realize is that we will not be limited by a lockdown. We launched 24/7, which is our telemedicine service. And we really we had 11 million downloads in 24/7. And we do nearly 1,000 teleconsults a day. So the good thing is that we have now a patient base of 11 million new people. We are in touch with our patients. Today we offered our home services. So we're taking healthcare beyond the realm of just the hospital infrastructure. We're taking it into people's homes and providing them good health care. And this is especially important for the elders and the more vulnerable population among us.
One of your peers, Fortis, told us that occupancy levels have gone up, and in fact, they expect normalcy post Q3. What is your estimate? What is Apollo's expectation?
Yes, so this year we showed an occupancy of 68%. However, for this quarter, it was 63%. We do believe that next quarter we'll ramp up to about 55%. And after that, I think we'll get back to our old levels.
Of course, ma'am, Q4 was not that great in terms of because of COVID, and Q1, of course, will also be a little exceptional. But can you just tell us more margins for Apollo? Where are they headed? Constantly, you've been increasing margins for the last few quarters before this quarter. In the post-COVID world, how do you expect the margins to look?
Yes, I think we will, because there's two things that are happening. When you're looking at margins, you must realize that 50% of our revenue, which is a pharmacy revenue, is at 6% margin. And the hospitals, the mature hospitals continue to be at 22% margin, and the new hospital at 7%. So we have a blended margin of around 12%. And that really reflects the business mix more than the quality, the margin on pure healthcare services. So you should compare that with Fortis's margin. The second thing is that we are really spearheading a huge cost effort, which I think will result in a significant impact on margins. And maybe a little early to speak about it now, but we are reducing material cost, we're reducing cost on all fronts, from lease rentals to, marketing completely gone, travel. So you will see a significant impact come in the margin profile.
When we look at the company, can you just tell us there are employee issues, space issues, overall cost increases, because things have changed in terms of operations. How is the company looking at cost initiatives in these times?
No, I think, only for the cost that is related to COVID, which has really gone up, and that is the fact that, use of PPEs, use of certain, surgical gloves, etc., consumables. Plus, you have to look at the fact that how we actually man the COVID wards, which requires twice the amount of nursing that a normal ward will require. So I don't think that, there will be a huge surge in cost. But yes, I think there's a rebalancing of cost. One, because we're cutting cost. Second, because we are incurring some cost because of COVID.
Have curtailed operations impacted Apollo's cash flows or liquidity position of the company?
Yes, I think we're in a good place. And if you look at, we have, currently we have debt of 2,900 crores, 0.79 to equity, debt to equity, and 2.3 times EBITDA to debt in terms of, so we are in a very good cash flow situation. We have the opportunity to raise debt, and more importantly, the cost of debt has come down to 7.5%. So I don't think it's so much of a cash flow issue. It's just that it's important for us to get our revenues back and manage our costs effectively.
All right. And finally, where do you see health infrastructure move for various countries in the post-COVID world?
I think there'll be a huge amount of healthcare investment. One part of it will happen in the digital space, and it's already happening. So we've launched our digital product 24/7. The second will definitely go into infrastructure, and you've seen that the government has gone into creating centers even at a district level for infectious diseases. So clearly a recognition that infectious diseases will play an important role. And even at Apollo, we are looking at infectious diseases as part of our centers of excellence, because we have wonderful clinical teams and we've been very successful. So we've seen through the SARS virus, we've seen through the MERS virus that happened in the Middle East, where we sent doctors and nurses there. And now this, I think, even with this, we've come out with a handbook which all the corporates have taken. We've circulated among 3,000 corporates. So this is probably the new normal. And I think this lockdown has helped us to prepare for it.
All right, great. Thank you so much then for joining us today on the show. And Ms. Reddy just giving us a sense of what things are like for hospitals that certainly have had quite an interesting quarter. Occupancies now slowly starting to sort of stabilize. Remember that we've been talking about how the worry is with respect to availability of beds. Yesterday we had Raheja who said that beds are now slowly starting to become available, so at least in Mumbai, so at least that's some sport of green in terms of availability of health infrastructure. All right, we'll do one thing. We will take a very short break right here on the show, but don't go anywhere. We have lots lined up on Markets at Noon.